There we go.
All right, quiet on the set, folks. Okay. Boy, I've got so much going on here. I got to give a quick plug for the. I finally made a cover of a Wrestle magazine, boy. They're big fans of the show.
Okay.
So I'm prostituting you out. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. It looks like something they contact me for, but I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you told them no, but that's okay.
I just answered some emails, and I was like, well, I said I was going to do something tomorrow, and that was a month ago.
Yeah,
so
I think you were very George Southish to them. I said, but that's why I got to break the ice.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't bring Mary Lou over to meet Dad unless I tell Dad that Mary Lou's coming.
Yes.
Okay? Because if Mary Lou contacts Dad on her own, oh brother, she's gonna get put in her place. That's all I'm saying. So,
yeah.
Okay. A lot of stuff going on. Got a lot of stuff to hold.
Here you go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the edition of Dad, You Don't Work, You Wrestle. You hear the claps. You know what time it is. George, how's the weekend?
I am so happy to be here with you today. There is so much going on all over the wrestling world, Bullet. I could do a whole program on just y'all's podcast on the big famous. I was very impressed with some of the comments on the Wrestle vs. Zombie podcast that you did on people that actually.
I'm surprised you've even heard it because I haven't released it till this Thursday.
Oh, well, people's already commenting on it.
Well, because
I'm sorry, they're commenting on the movie
Yeah.
onto your podcast.
Oh, yeah, because I announced it last Thursday
Yes,
that that's
exactly.
what we're going to do, even though I've been announcing on this program for a month now. But I made it public, so.
So, if your podcast that we haven't seen yet is any good as the comments of people that are saying it's good, it may be pretty good. There's a lot of people.
And I had to redirect kind of where we were going with the conversation, because when I do How Did This Get Booked, I don't want to be mean.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean-spirited,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
at the very beginning of the podcast, I say, they made a movie.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And you said that. I love that.
And let's be thankful for that and happy for that. But at the same time, we have a lot of ground to cover and discuss about what exactly were you thinking, and what maybe better choices or some good choices you did make.
Yes.
I feel like I was very fair in my commentary and criticism, and maybe probably a little harsh when needed to be.
And see, what I love is you actually noted that early on in the comments that, hey, they got a movie made.
Yeah,
they got a 90 movie made. So you gotta give them, you gotta put them over a little bit with that. But
I felt like after we did the podcast and recorded it, we felt better about the movie.
Yes.
Because after I got done watching it, I was very mad. I was very, very
George
mad.
South.
But when I sat down and talked with everybody else, I go, okay, all right. I feel like I worked through this a little bit, and I got some hindsight, and I'd recommend it to everybody. So,
folks, listen to me. So what I want to recommend to you is it will be released maybe this week.
This Thursday.
Okay. This Thursday.
This episode of Dad, You Don't Work, You Wrestle is released on Wednesday. Tomorrow, How Did This Get Booked? At howdidthisgetbooked.com. Available on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, all those places.
All I know, Bullet, and when this thing is said and done, the smoke's cleared, me and you wasn't even in that goofy movie, and I think we have talked more about that movie than the wrestlers that was actually in it. We should have been in it.
I think we've done more promotion than any of the wrestlers that are in it. I hope this generates, I honestly, genuinely hope it generates some sales for them.
Yes.
I hope you go to the Amazon Video and do the rental, because I think that would be their direct to how they would directly get the money. I think they already made the contract with Walmart, and I think it's in Walmart's now, but I don't think they get a percentage of sales. I think the deal, and the money's already been cashed.
Yes.
But if anything goes to them directly, I believe is the Amazon Video, and I even heard it's for free on if you have a Roku under I think the Chiller or Horror Channel or whatever. That's what Zane Riley was telling me. He says at the end of the podcast how you can listen to it.
Wow.
Which doesn't really help, I guess, because you have to watch the movie before. But regardless,
Well, it's just impressive, and we'll move on, of course. That they had a lot of connections to get this little goofy movie made, and we know to do that.
I just made a movie this past weekend, and just trying to get the location between the certain times and everything like that, very difficult. And trying to get actors and lines and stuff like that. Trust me, I know. And I even said at the beginning of the podcast, it's just I understand your pain and your plight.
Yes.
I would like to know where I put these comments about some of my discrepancies.
A lot of people have already commented that there's a lot of people that like this movie, and we all kind of had the same comment that it was almost so bad that it's good. Now I wouldn't maybe not go that far, but I think it was just so bad it's bad. But that doesn't mean there's some good points about it. So
you're not watching The Godfather.
No, exactly.
Or you're not even watching Night of the Living Dead.
No.
Or Return of the Night of the Living Dead.
And you're not watching Godfather meets A Night of the Living Dead either.
But I will say it's better than Return of the Night of the Living Dead Part 2,
Yes,
I would say.
yes, I agree with that.
I will give you that for sure.
Yes.
I did not like that
And
one.
even better than Cujo 2. I don't know if they remember, maybe Cujo 1 made a lot of money, that big old St. Bernard that went nuts. Not the same St. Bernard from Walt Disney that jumped on the bed and got everybody muddy. The first St. Bernard, Cujo, ate everybody.
Are you confusing Cujo 2 with Beethoven?
Yes. It's not the same. Same family line, same bloodline, Bullet, okay? But Beethoven
I don't think Beethoven was the sequel to Cujo.
Oh, sorry. I thought Beethoven was Cujo, just on a lower budget. Bullet. That's pretty good right there.
I don't know if they're in the same cinematic universe, but if they are, it would be interesting to see nonetheless.
Because, bro, they've been like 8 Beethovens. Same dog. I think the dog worked both shows. Yeah. I just think personally, but that may be for later on. But so much going on, Bullet. I want to put a quick plug. This past weekend, Saturday afternoon, went back to Charleston, West Virginia, and saw our good friend Brad Thomas, who, of course, I got to remember calling Brad Joseph his real name. I can't remember that, but hadn't been in the business for a while. He is now a pastor. The Lord called him to preach in Charleston, West Virginia. Got a beautiful, wonderful little church, beautiful family. They're all beautiful. I even told him his dog was beautiful. I mean, sisters, brothers, and even his uncle was beautiful. I said, what the heck's going on up here? But he took a chance there at that small church. He'd been wanting to do it for a long time, Bullet. And you know sometimes how the community may not be that willingly, or even a church. But we put a ring up in the basement of this church. And buddy, had beautiful Bobby Eaton came by and said, hey. And it was just a neat time for me to spend time with Bobby. And, of course, it was great. We had 200 people crammed in that gym. And it was just great. Of course, the greatest storyline in the history of wrestling is me coming out interrupting Pastor Brad Thomas, who is welcoming everybody and says hey to Bobby. And, of course, I get to come out and interrupt the whole thing, be the ultimate bad guy.
The dark cloud has rolled in.
The dark cloud rolled in. And a perfect line in wrestling is when I said, well, Pastor Brad, maybe another time and another place. If you had your boots, I may whoop you right here. And to everybody's surprise, on Bobby Eaton's gimmick table was a pair of wrestling boots, okay, that looked like his, okay? That looked like Bobby just had a pair of gear out there, but just so happened, very Cinderella-ish. Bobby Eaton gets up, when I said that line, walks over and just sits the boots. I got goosebumps. He sits the boots on the ring and walks away. And Brad played it. It was the most perfect thing in the world. WWE will probably do it next week. Of course, Brad being the Cinderella, good-looking bayface, the fans are chanting, try the boots on. Will the boots fit? Who? Bobby Eaton? Yes. Just so happened, surprise, the boots fit. And that place, Bullet, oh my goodness. That place went nuts. Of course, I backtracked. I didn't really mean, of course, I would beat you up if you found boots. I was just talking. Of course, we came back later. I'm going to start doing jobs to pastors all over the world because ultimate babyface the minute they come out. And all they got to do is just push you down one time and the roof comes off. But of course, what was so cool about it, I wouldn't go home. I was having so much fun with Brad Thomas, and Bobby had a cue when to come and interfere, and Bobby had enough. I think he'd sit over and got tired. Mm-hmm. So Bobby's getting up, and I said, Brad, are you ready? And Brad says, well, no. I said, well, you better be because Bobby's coming. Nobody tell you what any time for Bobby. He done had enough. I said, well, here comes Bobby to the ring, so we better get ready. So anyway, the big punch, and Brad rolled me up 1, 2, 3. He's the new champion. And then the comical side of pro wrestling is, since then, he's had 65 friend requests, half of them from wrestling promoters. And he's just telling everybody, please leave me alone. Two stipulations. If he does come and work, it's either me or Bullet. He had actually saw the last week's podcast where we put over Brad a little bit, and that famous story of you and Brad that you shared.
It's a shame we didn't get video record of it. I would have put it on the 6-disc set, which is available right now. Let you know, folks, at howdidthisgetbooked.com /merch if you're curious about that. But yes, I feel there's a couple of matches that are just out in the ether that I'll never see again, and most certainly that match with Brad is one of them. And I feel very sad that that's not being presented and highlighted on something like this because he's a special type of individual. And there are a lot of names on that DVD, but like that match stands out above them all.
Yes, I love that.
So
I love that.
Definitely top 10.
He spoke very, very highly of you, and I was joking with him even in the ring that the way he was selling for me and stuff like that. I mean, I told him you need to take another 7 years off. You know, about every 7, because you work better when you come back 7 years later. But just it was a great time, Bullet. And they loved on us, fed us, and of course we loaded up and come back home. And of course this past Sunday, me and Dale Wilkes had a wonderful time in Summerville, South Carolina, as he spoke earlier that morning before I had got there. And of course I spoke that night. The service had a lot of the Charleston Southern, the Citadel, a lot of those football players were there. We got to meet a lot of them, so it was just kind of neat. Of course, Dale Wilkes was kayfabing. Well, he was actually not kayfabing. He was filling me in a little bit about the fiasco the night before in Georgia, the big fan fest, which I hate. Y'all may all hate me, and this is another day, another time, another story, but I don't justify what the guy did, but I'm kind of impressed with what the guy did, because listen to me, folks. Personally, this comes from George South. When I book some of them guys, Lord, I have to give them a credit application, blood transfusion, firstborn. But here's a guy that nobody's never heard of. Okay, Bullet, nobody's never heard of. Puts on a convention. Everybody just jumps in the car and goes, basically. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I don't get eating no sides. Lord, we just glad we didn't go. But anyway, a lot of stuff going on, Bullet. I hope you did go to GeorgeSouth.com, where I showed you that this. You go to GeorgeSouth.com. This hits you right in the face. And then remember I told you last week, I'm very impressed that the link goes to Bullet Jake Manning's gimmick store.
Yes.
Which I was marking out.
Still going to add a couple more things, but there's t-shirts up there right now. I'll probably have a couple more items put up before the weekend, but
of course, tomorrow night, I know this will show a little bit later, but tomorrow night here in Charlotte at Freedom Drive Christian Center, Bullet, one of our all-time favorite shows, home of the famous DVD Beyond the Mat, where we actually wrestle on the ground. We will have a ring there, but they're busting in 200 kids, and we're going to go hang out and love on them. I do want to give a quick plug. So much going on here to my buddy Brian Hardy up in around the Pennsylvania area, tip of West Virginia. This is his wrestling magazine, Bullet, the second issue. Of course, Mr. Number One George South is on the cover. They can subscribe to it. Of course, all they got to do is just go to Facebook, United States Wrestling, or whatever. But I got 4 pages in this thing, Bullet. Wow. I mean, 4 pages, Bullet. Oh man, me and Bob Orton Jr. Bullet, and a quick plug for my t-shirts and everything. So anyway, I love it personally. Anyway, they can get it. This one's the newest issue. They're going to try to be 6 months, 6 issues. It's pretty neat. He loves the old magazines like we did, and he's doing all this on his own. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he definitely emailed me. I haven't emailed him back, but I haven't emailed people back for a month now. Usually I'm pretty on it, but things slip through the cracks. I just now have got my brain probably put back together after my match with John Schuyler. I can now do my set without making errors mentally and forgetting stuff now, just in time to get it racked and destroyed this weekend when I wrestle Cedric Alexander. So looking forward to that.
So Bullet, listen, real quick. Anything this week, comedian-wise? I put a quick plug in for. I saw where Sinbad's coming back to Charlotte.
Sinbad's definitely
so
coming
that's buddy, that's pretty big.
I need to look up that date, see if I'm going to be around, but I definitely want to make sure I'm out for that because he's going to be fantastic.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I've always loved him, but he originally started from not Star Search, but what did they call it?
Yeah, it was Star Search.
Yeah, something. Yeah, he came from there and kept going, but made a couple.
He's got a really interesting story. If you ever listen to a podcast of his, I highly recommend it. He was in. I think he was in the Navy, and then he went AWOL for a while, and then they brought him back, and then he got in these MC competitions and stuff like that, and the Army and Navy and stuff like that. I can't remember which branch he was in, but he was in the Armed Services, and they had these officer shows, and he was being an MC, and that's how he first started doing comedy. And then his old thing was he would go to nightclubs, and between bands, he would just grab the microphone and start doing comedy until somebody goes, "Hey, wait a minute, we didn't book a comedian. Why is this guy doing on stage?" And they'd kick him off. That's how he got stage time, because this is before open mics were on databases. Yeah. He would just find a club and then sneak in, grab the microphone, do a couple sets. Or he would do the old Jay Leno trick and give the guy a $50 bill and say, "Hey, if I'm not funny, you can keep that. But if I am funny, think about booking me in the future."
I kind of like that too.
Go to rock clubs, jazz clubs, and stuff like that, and go up and do it. And if he bombed, he'd lose $50. But if he did well, he might get regular work as an MC. So he might get up, do a couple jokes, bring out the next band. So that's how he got a little bit of work. But that's It's that type of attitude that he used to have.
Yeah, that's right.
He still has. Yeah, he's still going at it.
Still busy.
I was just back at Western Illinois University, and he played my college.
Oh, wow.
I guess his daughter does music too, so I think he follows the band around.
Oh, wow.
And he does a lot. He does a lot of cool stuff like that. So.
Really?
He's just touring right now, having fun.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. So, so anything else? You got a couple things coming up. I didn't know if you
I don't. I can't think of anything right now. So much in August, but September I just added 2 more dates. So that means in a 30-day span, 10 of those days are booked comedy shows. Wow. That's not including the open mics that I regularly do. So I will be doing a lot of comedy coming up here in September, and I just added all those dates to my calendar. I'll be tweeting more about that. So basically, a third of September is booked with comedy. Wow. That's not including the open mics that I do on a regular basis. And
let's throw in that's also defending the PWX World Heavyweight title, which is a whole nother segment of your life.
On top of going to the Northeast for 4 days next week. So very busy.
A lot of stuff going on, Bullet. Something else, I can't even think of it now, but I'll do it once we get off the air, and I'll just save it for next week. But, of course, our Idiot of the Week, if you don't mind, a real quick one. Of course, last week, I got a couple good, nice emails on our throwing the NFL into the Idiot bag last week about they just canceled the whole Hall of Fame game and because of the grass. And they did try to make up for it by just having a huge fan fest. Now, I guess it works for wrestling and it'll work for football. But what I want to do here, real quick, Bullet, is real quick. Everybody knows that we all do a lot of shows. The pressure of just trying to put a show on, much less around here, making sure everybody shows up, everybody trying to make their towns. And I'll bring up again Sunday afternoon, Saturday, of course, I was headed to Charleston, West Virginia, 30 minutes out. The town's, the show's already booked. It's just 4 matches at the church. So you're thinking, how hard can this thing be? But, of course, the ugly head of cancellation starts rearing its head, and you're going in the car and you ain't got time to hear about it. You know, to me personally, once someone cancels, there's no excuse they can give you at that time. I honestly don't care if you had a baby or your wife had a baby or the car broke. There's really 30 minutes from the building when you got to make ends meet. But anyway, that ain't why I'm going to anybody.
Listen, that's happened before to me and Caleb Conley. We found a way.
That's right. That's right.
That's happened multiple
because
times.
We'll never let anybody know, even though we may need them. We ain't going to let them know we do need them. Nope. Anyway, but my idiot of the bag this week, which has never happened to me, in the middle of all this, I can see the arena in the sunlight, and I've got to put this show together because you don't want to arrive at the show not knowing. I mean, I had probably half the car just canceled on me at the last minute. So I'm calling numbers, and West Virginia ain't got no service. And the first gentleman that I personally talked to from, I won't give a name, maybe next week, but I'm going to milk it for a little bit, Princeton, West Virginia, the guy told me he was off, and I asked him, would you like to make my show Bullet? He didn't even ask about money or nothing. The unwritten question that he asked me that caused me to hang up on him, he said, in the middle of all my pain and agony, Bullet, of just trying to get a body there, he asked me, who am I working with? Bullet, that is the unasked question. Lord, because the second question is going to be, did George just hang up on me? Because I did. Bullet, does it freaking, you know what I'm saying? So that guy, who I will never, ever call, I was in the desert, Bullet, okay? And there was one mirage with one little puddle of water, and that was that goof. And I was so stupid, I jumped in, and it wasn't nothing but dirt. Okay, I will never jump in. I will die like Clint Eastwood did in the desert in Outlaw Joseph Wells, all sunburnt and everything. Before I'll ever, I cannot believe he asked me that. Not even how much money. And he lives, this is the biggest thing, he lives close to where the show was. So I just hung up on him. I thought I'll work 4 times before I will answer that stupid. It doesn't matter, Bullet. You know what I'm saying?
Let me say this. If you were an indie worker in West Virginia and you care about who you're wrestling, you need to move. Okay?
Thank you, Bullet.
That's all I'm saying to you. If it's that big of a deal who you wrestle, I guarantee anyone around you isn't worth wrestling.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
I can promise you this much. And thus the feud continues with me in West Virginia.
Very good, Bullet. So, the whole wrestling crew in West Virginia, particularly the one that asked me that's still holding the phone waiting on me to come back after I hung up on him. What are people thinking, Bullet? I have no use for that. I didn't. We pulled it off. Success. So he will go in the idiot bag, okay, this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot going on. But right here, as we close up the idiot bag for this week, you can't ask me that. But what you can ask for is how to get
the second greatest book of all time, which is available at highspots.com. If you want to know more about me and George and what we're doing this weekend, especially since we're going to be at PWX together, I'm assuming, is just by following me on Twitter at ManScoutManning or on Instagram at ManScoutManning. This has been another edition of Dad, You Don't Work, You Wrestle.
Good show, Bullet. Thank you, buddy. Shoot ya. Way to tie that West Virginia comment up, Bullet. If you're worried about that up there, you got bigger problems, Bullet. You got bigger problems than who you're working with.
You don't even know what good is.